My passport came in the mail and I am going to Scotland. Hi and welcome to the Book Bar, where everything bookish is on the menu. I'm Anne Jeanette Barr, and I am so excited to finally be traveling to Scotland this summer. And it wouldn't be the Book Bar if I didn't talk about the books I'm going to read before I go, and actually a couple of books I'm going to read while I'm there as well. I know I should be having some scotch, but I'm having some rosé because I'm not going to finish it tonight, but I started this glass in my last video, which is my goals for 2022, so please go and watch that if you haven't yet. I have my stack here. It took a long time to narrow down which books I'm going to read before July when I go to Scotland, because I asked around my social media and got a lot of suggestions, and then I also kind of tried to temper it with what I already have and what I could find used and what I thought I could get through. So I'll tell you all about what I'm going to read, but first about my trip. So I am going to Scotland with a group of people being led by Select International Tours. So it's just me. My family is not going with me, but I won't be alone. The people leading the group are Haley and Daniel Stewart and some of their friends, and I'm going to put their picture here. It's a super fun 10-day trip with an amazing itinerary. I had thought I would go to Scotland this year with my youngest sister. We had already started talking about where we would go and what we would do, and primarily we wanted to walk the West Highland Way, but we knew we wanted to do some other sightseeing as well. This trip, while I won't get to do as much walking as I would have with my sister, will take me up and down and all around the country, so I'm very pleased. I'm bummed that I'm not going with my sister, but we're going to plan an equally fun trip somewhere else. This trip is for people who are interested in Catholic history and whiskey. So, guys, it's kind of the best thing ever for me personally, which is why it's the only reason that I would consider going with this group instead of with my sister, whom I adore. I love scotch, and I love whiskey. I really do, in general, enjoy whiskey and other hard spirits. I'm drinking rosé. It's not that I don't like other things, but I really do like whiskey. I'm interested in the science behind it, I guess. Interested in understanding it better. So the fact that we get to tour distilleries has really got me geeking out. And my friend Haley's husband Daniel is a distiller, but they live in Texas, and I would never probably get to hang out with them otherwise. So I'm very excited to meet him, and actually to meet Haley as well, even though I said she's my friend. I only know her online. And Haley is an author, a podcaster, and now an editor at a publishing company running their new imprint for children's books. So she's just all around amazing and inspiring, and her husband is a distiller. So between the two of them, they're a wealth of knowledge, and it's going to be that kind of trip where those kind of people, whether they have name recognition or not, are going to be there, and not too many of us, and we're going to have a blast. So there's actually still room on this trip, so I am talking it up because I want you to come with me, but also because I'm really excited to tell you about it after the fact if you can't make it. It's hard to swallow a trip of any kind right now, but especially an international trip. So I am really thankful that I was already in the mindset of thinking about it, of preparing for a trip that I had been anticipating for several years. So it just came at just the right time. We are also going to be having daily mass with two of the priests that are coming, and having mass in all kinds of places and visiting all kinds of Catholic historical places, like going to different churches, of course, going to several castles. I'll put a link in the description for the itinerary because it's crazy. Some people, I know at least one person coming is really interested in like Mary Queen of Scots and that history. And then some of us are interested in some other aspects of it. I'll tell a little bit when I tell you why I chose these books, but my interests are kind of similar. Oh, I wrote on my hand. That's so funny, and I'm showing it to the camera because I'm still 14, obviously. And I'm going to meet the Loch Ness Monster, and I am going to see the Highlands, and we're going to an island in the Hebrides. Is that how you say it? And yeah, yes, really, really excited. But I love the idea of having some kind of grounding in a place by from having heard about it from someone I know personally, and or from reading books about the place. So I chose some Scotland books. I'm just going to tell you about them so that I don't go on and on and on. But I'd love to know if you've read any of these. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one because I'm probably going to read it first. The Winter Sea by Susanna Kearsley. It's actually endorsed up here by Diana Gabaldon, the author of Outlander. I can't remember if that's what caught my eye, but I actually think that she recommended this on her social media somewhere. And I thought it sounded really interesting, and I put it on my wish list, and then another local friend of mine told me that she read it, so I'm going to read it. It says, in the spring of 1708, a fleet of French and Scottish soldiers nearly succeeded in bringing exiled King James back to Scotland to reclaim his crown. Claire McClellan is fascinated by the intrigue and romance of this failed Jacobite rebellion and wants to base her next best-selling book on it. So she rents a cottage near the ruins of Slains Castle, where the rebellion was planned. Mixing her fictional characters with historical figures, Carrie suddenly realizes that people and events she thought she was inventing are turning out to be real. So I love this aspect of a historical truth or truths woven into a contemporary setting. And evidently, even though you can't tell it from that little blurb, it's also a romance. So I think this one has a lot of potential. So I'm excited to read this one. Tell me if you've read it. And then I'm going to skip around a little bit. I am actually definitely 100% absolutely going to be reading the last Outlander book as soon as it gets to me. Because you guys, I'm still waiting for it. It's okay. One of my best friends purchased Go Tell the Bees That I'm Gone by Diana Gabaldon for me from the bookstore that she likes to patronize, and that really is kind of her patron, in Arizona. And so it's a signed copy. So that's awesome. Like that's the best Christmas gift ever, right? Is a signed copy of the book that I'm wanting to read from an independent bookstore. But I think it really overwhelmed the bookstore, and so I still have not seen it. And I'm in Alaska, so I'm going to be the very last person to get it. But when it gets here, I will read that book. And I say that, oh, and I'll put the picture here so you can see it, because isn't that pretty? Pretty cover. I say that because related are these two books. So these two actors, Sam Heughan and Gray McTavish, are two of the actors in the Outlander television adaptation. And they came up with their own spin-off series, which is docu-series, kind of. It's kind of a humor series, and also a tour of Scotland. And so it is the two of them going around Scotland in a Winnebago. What is it? I don't know. Maybe it says in here. A camper van. That's what they're calling it. And teaching people about Scotland, specifically the Highlands. And so this book is basically what's covered in the TV series plus some. And this book is like even more extras that they couldn't fit in either. So yeah, this says seasonal stories from Scotland. So I'm excited to read these after I've finished watching that series. And I think it will give me some landmarks, more than I already have. Tell me in the comments if you want me to do a video all about Outlander and the controversy that it is, because I want to. I want to tell you all of my thoughts about Outlander, and I know that I will get love and hate from that, and I'm totally prepared to engage that. I really want to talk about it, but I also don't know if you guys are tired of talking about Outlander, so let me know. Okay, my battery ran out. I need to readjust now. All right. So this book is a good segue into one of the main reasons I'm going to Scotland. When I became Catholic in 2018, I needed to take on a confirmation saint. It's kind of a patron saint that I would take on the name as well. I could if I wanted to, and I did decide to, not on all my official paperwork and everything, but take on the name Margaret. So after searching through the stories of many, many saints, which really did take a lot of time because I was not raised Catholic, and so I didn't have any frame of reference, not many at least. I decided on St. Margaret of Scotland, and she's also called Queen Margaret of Scotland, and her story just so intrigued me. She was a princess from, is it Hungary? I did read her biography, so I should know, but anyway, brought to Scotland to marry Malcolm, the king. And it sounds like he was kind of rough and tumble, a little bit of a barbarian king, so the story goes, and she was very refined. But they had such charisma, and she evidently was so winsome that she really ended up influencing him in his rule and doing a lot of good in Scotland. And so she is the patron saint of Scotland. They had a lot of kids, 8 kids, something like that. So it was nice to have a kind of a mother in the Catholic faith to look toward. And she loved to read so much. I just love this. She loved to read so much that her husband had her books like gilded, like, slap some stones on there and make it gold. And in particular, she loved her Bible so much that her husband revered the Bible because his wife loved it. So that's just so cool. She sounds like such a powerful person. And I have read already a couple of biographies about her, but I picked up this historical fiction from an author that a friend of mine recommended, Nigel, Trantor. I did read some reviews that said like, oh my gosh, don't read this because it's way off the mark. But what can you do for historical fiction from, a woman who lived so long ago? So I'm interested, and one of my goals in Scotland is to pick up some books that I can't get here, printed in the UK, about St. Margaret. So if you have any recommendations, especially if you live in the UK, let me know. I'm planning on just scouring the bookshops and trying to see what I can find. Okay, so I have really always wanted to read an Alexander McCall Smith book or 2 or 10 because he's so prolific, and I haven't yet. So there was a free sale, there was a free giveaway at our used bookstore, and tons of his books were there. So I may have taken a lot, but I definitely grabbed this one, 44 Scotland Street, and all I know about it is what it says. And it says, his Scotland Street occupies a busy bohemian corner of Edinburgh's New Town, where the old hot bourgeoisie finds itself having to rub shoulders with students, poets, and portraitists. And number 44 has more than its fair share of the street's eccentricities and failures. And so yeah, it's supposedly very funny. I know that his number 1 ladies detective agency is witty and funny, and so yeah, we'll see if I like his style. I would love if I did, because isn't it fun to find an author that you can read a lot of their stuff? What else? Okay. The Fisherman's Lady by George MacDonald. George MacDonald is an interesting figure. He was very influential on C.S. Lewis, and C.S. Lewis compiled a collection of his most beloved writings, and it was mostly sermons. And one of the things C.S. Lewis said about him was that he was really a lot better at like his theology and philosophy and nonfiction writing than he was his fiction. And I did read, what did I read by George MacDonald? Children's book. Help me out. You can't help me out. Not The White Horse. That's not him. Oh, Princess and the Goblin. That's George MacDonald, right? and it was fine. It made me kind of wonder, like, is Lewis just really critical? I don't know. So my friend Elsie from Tea and Ink Society recommended this book to me, The Fisherman's Lady, and it is a historical novel. And it says, an old blind piper, Duncan, a hunchback and his hated mother, an evil midwife, a marquis with a dark past, Miss Horne, searcher of truth. These are the people whose lives intertwine in a skillfully told tale of mystery and intrigue. So, yeah, I don't know a lot about it, except that I think that it has some romance in it. And this says it's in the classic Gothic style, which means I'm absolutely going to love it. So I'll let you know. And then this is also a mystery. It will be my first Mary Stewart. It was also in that free giveaway at that store. I was like, wow, jackpot, because this one is set on an island on the west coast of Scotland. Let me see, what does it say? And it's about a woman who goes out for a holiday with her brother. He doesn't show up, or at least he's delayed, but two other people do, and it sounds like they might be bad guys. So it's really not that long. I'm very excited for it to be my first introduction to her because I've heard so much. So, and then the last one I did go over a little bit in my last video, which is 5 Days in Skye by Carla Laureano, and it is the first in, I think, a trilogy. Yep, MacDonald family trilogy. And this won a Rita Award. And so it is a romance, and kind of similar to the Mary Stewart one, I think. She tries to go off, and in this case, I think she's kind of trying to escape to an island, and instead finds her love. So yeah, we will see. I also have a few books that I'm going to be reading that are not necessarily Scotland books, but I guess 2 books, but that I'm going to read before three that I'm going to read before I go, or when I go. So the first I actually don't have yet. It is my friend Haley's book. She has other books, but this one is coming out in March, and it's called Jane Austen's Guide to Life. Where's my phone? I'm going to tell you for sure. Okay, I'll put it up here. It is Jane Austen's Genius Guide to Life, on Love, Friendship, and Becoming the Person God Created You to Be by Haley Stewart. It is coming out March 25th. That's Tolkien Day, isn't it? Good job, Haley. Did you do that on purpose? This is being published by Ave Maria Press, and I heard this whole process while she was researching and everything, and she reread all of the Austen novels, which she talks about a lot on her podcast anyway. She talks about Austen and other classic novels, but also all kinds of other literature. And then she kind of took out the gems of virtues and things like that. So I think it will be excellent knowing her and her insights, because she always finds things that I don't necessarily pick up on. And it's coming out before a trip, so I definitely want to, be able to support her, but also read it ahead of time so that I can talk about it if it comes up, because it would be awkward if I didn't. And then the other one is this one. What a pretty book. And the end papers are also pretty. And this one is Mysterion by Father Harrison Ayre. And he is coming on the trip with us. So I did not know anything about him before Haley told me he was coming. But when I looked him up, I realized I had seen this book all over the place. So I did know something about him and didn't realize it. But I'll just read you the flap. It says, Mysterion unveils the underlying vision at the heart of Christianity and invites us to enter into a deeper understanding of the mystery and saving work of Christ. We discover the fulfillment of our deepest desires in the sacramental worldview, a powerful way of seeing all created things as pointing us toward God. In this book, Father Harrison reveals a forgotten way of seeing and living the Christian life that can help us to understand what it means for us to be in Christ, to participate in Christ's life and through the church, to participate in Christ's life in and through the church, and to allow his life and grace to work in us. So it's going to talk about sacraments, liturgy, and then woven throughout, it sounds like, talking about kind of the mysteries in creation and the mystery of creation. This is obviously nonfiction. It's obviously Catholic. But yes, again, if I'm going to be traveling with this man, I want to make sure I've read his book. So I'm definitely going to be reading that ahead of time. And then I bought this one, also Catholic, called Lift Up Your Heart. And it's a 10-day personal retreat with St. Francis de Sales. It has nothing to do with Scotland, at least I don't think so. But I bought this because it's I was looking for something that I could read in the 10 days that I was there. And I love this idea, even though I'll be with people 10 days away from my children, will definitely give me a different mental space. So I'm planning on doing this 10-day retreat that is based on the spiritual classic Introduction to the Devout Life. So yeah, that's what I am going to be reading there. It's not too thick, and I'm sure I will have my Kindle, which I also have quite a few Scotland related books loaded to over the years. Oh my goodness. Look what I just saw for the first time. I mean, the dust jacket's fine, but what? Okay. Wow. Who published this book? Sorry, guys. Is this Pauline? Yeah, Pauline Books and Media. What? That's cool. How often do you see like full color art underneath an awesome dust jacket? Wow. Okay, so that's Scotland for me. Tell me what you have read or what you would read. What am I missing out on? I hope that it'll just be such an exciting trip that it will just give me a platform to jump off of in my Scotland reading, and that these won't be the last by far. So thanks for watching the Book Bar. I really appreciate you guys coming back for every video, and I hope that you like and subscribe if you are enjoying the content, and follow me on Instagram at AnjanetteBarWriter. I post there several times a week, but it's a good way to contact me as well. I always check my messages and reply. So thanks again, and make sure that you check out the links for all these books in the comment, and also sign up for my newsletter if you're interested.